Hello YouTube, it's Ian here with Hobbies of Man once again, and today we're going to be doing another manga review. Today we're going to be looking at Haikyu Arc 1, or the first arc in Haikyu, which is called the Karasuno High School Team Formation Arc, or something along those lines. It's the first 35 chapters, and the author here is Haruichi Furudate, the publisher is Viz, the demographic is shonen, and the genres here are obviously sports in the volleyball kind of style, and coming of age, which there's a specific German word for this that I just never remember, but coming of age is like a genre type, right? And also there's places where I've seen that it's also labeled as a comedy. I guess this is true, but it doesn't really feel like the main point of the story is comedy. It just happens to be that comedy is useful to keep the mood enjoyable, right? So I wouldn't really say that comedy is a genre, but it is definitely something that shows up quite often in this story in a lot of deadpan kind of ways. So there you go. Now, the premise here is basically that Hinata starts a story by being enchanted by this kid that he saw on television called the Little Giant, who was a player for Karasuno back when when Hinata was a little boy, or like a young teenager. He was like 8 or 9, I think. And this changed his perspective on sports. Instead of playing soccer and basketball and baseball, he decided that he wanted to play volleyball. So when he got into middle school, he joined the volleyball team, right? However, his school didn't have enough male players to have any of them compete. However, by the end of his third year of middle school, he managed to cobble together a team out of volunteers and people he cajoled into being with him in this team. He got to the tournament and he lost within 30 minutes. And the thing is that those 30 minutes really impacted him, and he wanted to get stronger. He wanted to get better. So when he got to high school, finally, he went to Karasuno and he managed to become a member of the volleyball team. However, this volleyball team is going through a rough patch right now, and they have to be built up. They need to get all of their players together. They need to make sure that the 4 freshmen, including Hinata and his arch rival Kageyama, are able to mesh together and develop as a team. And so we get to meet the other players along this this arc, and we also get to see them battle against other teams from other schools. And I think it's a really, really good story. So yeah, the plot line is the introduction of Hinata and Kageyama in their middle school tournament at the end of their middle school career. Then they enter high school, and we get to see that Hinata is surprised to see Kageyama, and his goal to beat this guy kind of goes out the window, because how can you beat the guy that's on your team? Then we get introduced to other members of the team. We get to introduced to the third years, Sawamura, and the second year, Tanaka. And we get to see that they're fun and they're cool guys, but Hinata does something to get the vice principal angry. And so Hinata and Kageyama are told that they cannot join the team until they prove that they can work as a team together, right? That they can prove that they have enough grit and determination to create teamwork out of people that they don't really necessarily like. And so eventually they decide that they're going to practice to get better and to have a 3-on-3 match against the other 2 freshmen that joined with them, as well as the captain and Tanaka. So they do this, and eventually, while they're playing, Hinata trusts Kageyama completely, and Kageyama is finally able to get his quick set off, and they do this move that is just amazing, and it freaks everyone out because Hinata had his eyes closed the whole time. And from there, they develop the team further. They go battle this other group called Blue Castle. Aoha Jaori, I think is what it's called, or Aoha Yaoshi or something like that. But their English name is Blue Castle. And they have this game, and they manage to win, which is great, which is really awesome. But they decide that they still need to build the team. Now, I actually can't remember if they win or not. I'm pretty sure they do win in a surprising practice match. Maybe they lost. I honestly don't remember. I think it doesn't really matter. The point is that they learn a lot about this, and then we use this to develop the rest of the team. We get introduced to Nishinoya, which is the libero of the team, which is apparently the guy that is supposed to save the balls that go really low, right? And we also get to meet the team's ace, whose name is Shimane, something like that. He is this guy with a top knot and a little bit of stubble on his face. And he also looks like a delinquent, but he's actually a very down-to-earth, very nice, very shy guy. And I think that that is a really fun, kind of crazy way of looking at this character, right? And then they develop their team. They start playing a lot more. They play the local team, the Karasuno, intramural team, which apparently is a thing. I can't think of like a Dallas city team that plays against other people. I'm sure there are. I'm pretty sure intramural sports are still a thing for local towns and cities and stuff, but I've never joined one, so I wouldn't know too much about it. But they play them, and we get to realize that, the team still needs work. So they go on a training camp, and eventually they manage to play another game with this other team called Nekoma. So Nekoma is actually a team from Tokyo. They come down to battle Karasuno because of this guy called Ukai, who happens to be this old guy who was the old coach for Karasuno, who also happened to be friends with the coach for Nekoma. However, this old guy Ukai is old and he really can't be out and about anymore. So what they do is they get the next best thing, which is his grandson Ukai, I think it's his grandson, to be their coach. And so with the Ukai name, the teacher Take-chan can finally get the Nekoma guys to agree to show up. And so they play this game, and it's a really good, really exciting game. So I really enjoyed it. I think it was a great experience. I definitely want to watch the anime for this. Usually I don't really enjoy watching anime when I can read the manga, but I think that with volleyball being such a dynamic kind of like physical sport, I think it would be really enjoyable to see more fluidity out of it. And so I really want to watch it. Also just because I really enjoy the moments in Haikyuu, and I want to experience them again in a faster kind of method, and one that doesn't feel boring because it's the exact same experience as before, right? Like, I read this arc a few days ago. I really already forgot the details. So I want to watch it again to have like to allow it to cement itself in my mind, right? Because it's not like Naruto or Fairy Tail where I've gone through the series multiple times. Haikyuu is the first time that I read this and that I experience it. So I want to experience it again a second time in a different format just to really get into it, right? So yeah, but the plotline is great. I really enjoy every moment of it a lot. In terms of characters, we have Hinata, who is a really earnest and wonderful, very cute, like enjoyable character. Like something about him is like very naive and honest and open, and I really love it. Like, he's such a great guy. I understand why, Haikyuu is like Fujo bait, because all of these guys are really interesting characters. It's very similar to Free in that way. Like, they're just really compelling characters. They have cute designs, good looks and stuff like that. And the way that they kind of just express themselves, and the hypeness that you feel for them when they win and when they lose, the sadness that you feel, it just makes it really easy to really enjoy these characters. And so if you have that, plus the fact that you're attracted to that gender, I think it really makes sense why you would have a lot of this like Fujo bait kind of situations, right? But I have nothing against it or anything like that. It's just an interesting observation. But Hinata's a great guy. I really enjoy his character a lot. It's like Naruto if Naruto was like a cute kid instead of like a punk. And I like that a lot. And then we have Kageyama. He's like the genius guy, right? And he's angry. I don't really understand why he's angry, because technically speaking, he has everything going for him. But I think that it's anger because even though he's so good, he doesn't realize that he's missing something, right? And throughout the story, he realizes that and he grows. But Kageyama is a really steadfast, kind of like badass guy. I like him a lot. He is the Sasuke of the story, basically. And I quite like that. Then we have Tsukishima, who is kind of like, he's good, and he knows he's good, but he's also not very expressive. He's not, he's about snide remarks and kind of like taking it easy. And I like him a lot as well. He's not like the biggest character, but I think that he has good interactions with Kageyama, and he completely ignores Hinata, which I think is kind of funny. Then we have Tanaka, and I really like this character. I really like these earnest, like, you think they're bad guys, but they're actually just really nice. But they're just loud, right? It's kind of like Kirishima. He's that kind of character, right? And I really like Tanaka a lot, right? And then we have Nishinoya, and I like this guy a lot as well. He is also very fun and really enjoyable, and he has a lot of heart to him as well. So I like this character a lot. Azumane is the name of the ace. I said Shimane earlier, but it's Azumane, and I like him a lot as well. He's a really good player. He has a little bit of a difficulty to him. He kind of takes blame for things that he shouldn't. But his development throughout the arc is great. I like him a lot by the end. Sugawara is the captain, if I remember correctly, and Sawamura is the setter. That's the third year, and he's also really good. He doesn't really do too much in this arc, but in the second arc, he happens to be a really good asset for the team, and I really like that. Then in terms of other characters that are not part of the team, there's Kyoko, who is the manager or the student representative for the team. She's a girl. She's the representative for the boys team, and she's like a really hot girl. And everyone is always jealous of the fact that these guys have a hot manager. And I think it's cute. It's just there more for the fan service kind of aspect to it. It's very similar to Henri Tenri or Ari Terry in Blue Lock. It's just they need a girl to have a female fan serviceable character every once in a while. And I'm guessing that that's what the point of her is. Nothing against that, nothing for that. It's just kind of what it is. Then we have Takeda, who is the teacher advisor. And then we have Ukai, who is the coach, right? And then we have one character that is not part of Karasuno, who is Kenmai. And he's an interesting character. He's kind of like the lazy but really smart guy. So he's kind of like the Shikamaru of this other school in Nakoma, and I really like this character a lot as well. His relationship with Hinata is really interesting, and the promise that Hinata makes him at the end of the match is really, really interesting. So yeah, in terms of world building, there really isn't any, because this is not a fantasy story. There is no world building. However, there's a lot of setting building, and I think that that's really, really interesting, because the setting building isn't necessarily like this school or this place. It's more like what the relationship between schools is, why this relationship between the players is important, and all this type of stuff. But also there's a huge amount of explanation about volleyball, and I really appreciate that, because I don't know anything about volleyball, or I do now, but I didn't at the beginning of the story. I think it's really useful. I think that having Takeda or Take-chan, the teacher advisor, not know about volleyball is great, because he can be the everyman character for the sake of us. He can be the exposition character, and I like that a lot. Him and Sawamura are the characters that help explain all of the terms and stuff like that. Because Hinata also doesn't really know too much about volleyball, except that he likes to spike the ball, right? So yeah, I really enjoy this because it's really helpful, but also adds a lot of effort and development to the story, and I really appreciate that. There's a lot of thought and process put into making sure that everyone understands the volleyball terminology here, and I like that a lot. We also get to develop the Kurosana school lore a little bit. We get to understand that they had a relationship with Nakoma back in the day, and that their relationship was really interesting. We also get to see that they have difficulty against Blue Castle. There's this rivalry there as well, and then there's these guys called the Iron Wall, which are another school that is concerning for Asumune specifically. So I like that a lot. In terms of the artwork, it's awesome. I mentioned it in my first impressions review, but Furodate does a great job with outlines. They make these really bold, interesting outlines. Usually they're in black, but every once in a while they're also in white. And this also allows for the characters to pop a lot. So you get a lot of breaks from the usual paneling in order to highlight these characters in a way that is really exciting. There's a great amount of motion put into the characters, the way they move, but without a lot of those seinen like hatching lines that are supposed to denote motion, like in something like Vinland Saga. It's just a lot more clear, a lot more visual. There's a few of those Naruto-esque kind of moments where you see the shot from one angle, and then you get a bunch of other angles to show you how the action happened from multiple places. And there's just this strength and power and speed that is denoted, and it's a really great thing. It also works really well for Hinata, because Hinata's special, skill is that he runs really fast, he jumps super high, and he hits the ball with everything he's got. And that ability is conveyed really, specifically and properly through the artwork of Furodate. So I think the artwork is phenomenal. In terms of fan service, there really isn't any. At least nothing that a heterosexual male like I would enjoy. However, there's a lot of Fujo, shipping bait, right? And I really don't have a problem with this. I know I've said it a few times, but I really don't. I mean, my favorite series is Saint Seiya. Saint Seiya is the reason Yaoi exists today. That's the reason why Clamp even started. So, I have no issues with Furry Bait series. It's just part of what it is, right? But it's very clearly mostly female audiences that like this story. However, there's so much to it. I really enjoy it. It has such great things to it, but it just doesn't have any male-oriented fan service, right? So it's just what it is, right? But I did want to mention that because I think it's interesting. And yeah, so rating-wise, it's a 5 out of 5. I thought it was so exciting. I've been reading so many great series this year. My top 10 list might have to be top 15 because at this point, there's so many great things. So yeah, that's all I have to say. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please leave a like, subscribe, and comment down below. Let me know what you thought. And thank you guys very much. See you guys later.